Hi everyone. Today I want to continue on with my discussions of some recent Criterion releases. And today I'm going to talk about Around Midnight from 1986, starring Dexter Gordon, legendary saxophone player, directed by Bertrand Tavernier. And it is another terrific Criterion release. It has about 2 3/4 hours of supplements that are absolutely essential. They really, I think, Criterion, even though they're not doing many brand new commentaries, they are really giving us some great supplements. And the last film, too, with Mr. Klein. But Around Midnight is set in 1959, mostly in Paris. There's a little bit in New York City. It opens in the Blue Note Cafe. This was a famous Parisian nightclub where jazz was on offer. But we're kind of like in the twilight years of the jazz scene. And we see Dale Turner, a fictional character. This is not the Dexter Gordon story. Dale Turner is a fictional character based on a composite of a couple different jazz legends, and with a good bit of Dexter Gordon put in as well. But he's introduced as a legendary figure, but he looks old, he looks tired. But there's an appreciative crowd out there to see a legend in performance. And outside this jazz club, there's a young man who is kneeling down by the air vents. He wants to hear. He doesn't have enough money to go in, but he wants to hear the music, and he hangs around the street outside of the jazz club. And Dale Turner notices and befriends him. Turner is an alcoholic. His entourage is insistent on keeping him away from alcohol. And he asked this young man if he could buy him a beer, and a friendship develops. So this is very much a story of friendship, and based on incidents from a real life relationship between an illustrator and a jazz pianist, so it's very much a story of friendship, but and also kindness. Kindness, I think, the kindness that this man shows to Dexter Gordon, playing Dale Turner. And towards the end of the film, we see Dale Turner walking along a river. And river walks are all through Tavernier's movies, and he remarks, there's not enough kindness in the world. So this is very much a story of kindness, and a story basically of harmony. So Dale finds harmony in his music, but in real life he finds no harmony. Music is everything, 24 hours a day. But with Francis, the illustrator's, the name of the character the illustrator plays, he's estranged from his wife, although in a couple of scenes we see they very much care about each other still. But he's in custody of the preteen daughter. She looks like she's maybe around 10 years old. And Dale Turner is very much moved by this relationship, because he has a daughter that he's hardly ever seen back in New York City. And then he also goes to a family dinner, and he sees this relationship that Francis has with his family, and again a sense of harmony. So, but this friendship, as this friendship develops, so does Dale Turner's need to perform, to get better. He's sort of, like I say in the beginning, he's sort of resting on his laurels. Now he wants to see if he can still rise at least close to the heights that he once knew. And it's beautifully illustrated by the fact that when in the beginning of the film, and he's not playing well, and he's meant not to play well. Some of Dexter Gordon's his wife and some of the other people thought, well, why is he playing, you know, but it was part of the movie. So there's this progression of his movie. So he's sitting down, and you hear a member of the audience, why can't he stand up? All the other musicians standing up. And then as he evolves through the film, we do, it's not mentioned, but it's clearly now he is standing up. And we also get the idea of the inspiration that art can bring. So when Dale Turner moves in with Francis, he's inspiring the art of the illustrator, and it's a mood film. It's not a film of plot. We get very much a sense of the artist who's sort of in his twilight years. He's kind of exhausted, and Around Midnight is Bertrand Tavernier's previous film. Really excellent movie, maybe his best film, A Sunday in the Country, also about an artist and his relationship with his family. He's in his late 70s or 80s, and he is a painter. He's been a very famous painter, but he understands, he's looking back at the glories of his life and how he can process that in going into old age. And Gordon wasn't playing himself. Dexter Gordon gets an Oscar nomination for this role, and I read Maxine Gordon's, that was Dexter Gordon's wife. Dexter Gordon was working on an autobiography, but he died in 1990 before he could finish it. So Maxine adds a lot of the biographical details, but you get a good sense of who Dexter Gordon was in this book. And as I say, he brings a lot of himself to the role, and he wanted authenticity. The original script was not authentic. It was not how bebop musicians talk. Now, Dexter Gordon, during this period, was living in Europe. And he lived in Europe for about, I think, about a dozen years. Now, mostly he lived in Denmark, but he played gigs all around Europe, and he certainly played at the Blue Note. And he understood the lingo, and so Tavernier was like, yes, bring me. I want to make a realistic portrait. Hollywood portraits of the Paris and the Jazz age were not authentic, and certainly they did not. You know, it was white actors, the Paul Newman or Kirk Douglas, and the jazz scene. This is one of the first films, I guess, maybe even the first one, that really explored the black experience of these jazz artists, expatriates in Europe, and especially in Paris. So he wasn't playing himself. Dexter Gordon brings a lot to it, but he has this gravelly voice, and he uses words. He talks slowly, and he uses his words almost like in a kind of melodic intonation, as if he's playing music. And the music is fantastic. I mean, Herbie Hancock's on the piano. Great jazz legends. I'm not a jazz aficionado, but I'm sure that the artists who were playing in this jazz band with Dexter Gordon were the cream of the crop, and the music was recorded live, and the musicians really appreciated that, and so we get Dexter doing, you know, sort of his stumbling in the beginning of the film, and then later on we hear it. It's all being recorded live. And the Blue Note Cafe was, and the entire film was designed by Alexander Troner, who is absolutely one of the greatest, if not the greatest, set designer of all time. This was one of his last films. And in the supplements, we actually get a chance to see the maestro wandering through the sets. And what's interesting about the Blue Note Cafe, which he designed so beautifully, and the musicians thought they were actually in the Blue Note Cafe. They were actually performing in a cafe. It had such an atmosphere to it. But there is kind of a jarring aspect to this, in that the Blue Note Cafe and the street outside of it is clearly being filmed on a set, and with painted backdrops, but intentionally so, to give us a kind of that's artificial world, this world of the music and sort of the dark streets, and it's always raining. And then later on, we get other scenes in Paris, the walking along the River Seine. And then when we come to New York, a walk along the East River. So the music, there's a lot of music in here. And, as I say, I'm not an aficionado, but I think you don't have to be an aficionado to really appreciate what's going on in this, in the musical aspects of this film. And for me, the highlight is when Lynette McGee comes on, and it's intimated that they're former lovers, and she comes up and sings a couple songs. How long has this been going on? And just a highlight of the film. And like I say, we get some great supplemental material. There's an interview with Gary Giddens. Giddens was the longtime jazz critic of the Village Voice, and one of the stories he tells, and he tells a lot of great ones, was when the film came out in the Village Voice. There was a long article that he wrote on Around Midnight, and an absolutely devastating pan of the movie. And much to Giddens' amazement, Tavernier wrote back to him. He received a letter in the mail, and Tavernier, doesn't sort of refute, but he goes through all the different objections that Giddens had to the film. And then they became great friends. They happened to meet one time. Tavernier was very friendly to him, even though he had panned the film. And Giddens says that as he still has some issues with the film, but he regards it as maybe the greatest jazz movie ever made. And then we get a interview or a conversation between Maxine Gordon, the writer of the book I just showed, with Michael Cascuna. And he was a music producer, longtime friend of Dexter Gordon. He was intimately involved with the making of the film, the sound of the film, and producing the soundtrack of the film. And then a 2014 panel discussion. And these first two supplements are from 2021, 2022, so they're brand new. And then we get a 2014 a panel discussion that was accompanied a presentation of the film in New York City, and Maxine Gordon is there, and so is Bertrand Chabanier and Michael Cascuna. And that, again, just an excellent recapturing. Tavernier had his last film was just about to be released. Sadly, he passed away in 2021. And then we get a documentary, but somebody filmed backstage scenes of the filming. But I guess it was never made into a documentary. It put all this footage put together into a documentary until I guess for this release, and it's just great. I mean, I'm not always that crazy about the behind the scenes filming, but this one is fantastic. And again, we see Alexander Troner, walking through his sets, and we get to see Tavernier's relationship with Dexter Gordon, but also we get after this documentary, then we get a 1969 performance in Denmark by Dexter Gordon and his band of Fried Bananas. Now, in the movie, the music is basically sort of down-tempo ballads kind of stuff, very melancholic kind of music. Excuse me. But Dexter Gordon was known for really swinging, you know, and when they made the film, he had been retired for 2 years. There wasn't any way that he was going to be able to reproduce that kind of energy anymore, and plus it didn't call for as far as the storyline. So if you see this movie, you gotta see Fried Bananas, because you see Dexter Gordon really in action. And then we get a fold out, with as always, a terrific essay, and we get I guess this is the original, at least one of the original poster arts that accompanied the original release of the film. So again, a really terrific Criterion release. They're really knocking it out of the park in my view this year. Okay, thanks a lot for everybody who managed to listen. I do appreciate it. Comments are welcome. Take care.